The aesthetic value of a car is very much dependent on the beholder, but some F1 cars have just been so weird that we're happy to call them out. Some of them were ungainly large for reasons of regulation, but some just have no real excuse. So in today's video, we are going to take a look at the top 10 weirdest cars in F1 history. Stay tuned till the end of the video to find out all about them. Number 10. The Tyrrell P34, 1975. Ken Tyrrell is the man behind arguably the most absurd vehicle design in Formula One history. Derek Gardner, the head designer of Tyrrell, came up with the idea for the P34. For those of you who are unaware, the P34 was a Formula One race car that, oddly enough, featured 6 wheels. Interestingly, Patrick DePaila and Jody Scheckter raced the vehicle to 3rd place in the standings in 1976, with DePaila taking 2nd and the former winning the Swedish Grand Prix. The South African, though, was a distance. Ronnie Peterson would succeed Scheckter as his replacement, but the 1977 P34B model, which was heavier than its predecessor, fell short of expectations. Although 6-wheel vehicles were never again seen on the starting grid, and the Formula One rules currently dictate that cars can only have a maximum of 4 wheels. Number 9. The Fan Car, 1978. The Brabham BT46, often known as the Fan Car, is on our list of weirdest cars in F1 history. Just 1 year after the P34B's previous appearance, the fan vehicle attracted the attention of the Formula One community. The focus of the vehicle was the ground effect, a set of actions that, as implied by the name, try to increase downforce, which is well known to be crucial in Formula One. With their Type 78, they had an advantage over rival teams, but in spite of its speed, it was unreliable. At the Swedish Grand Prix, Brabham unveiled the fan vehicle, but it was welcomed only with criticism. It's like a bloody great vacuum, according to Mario Andretti. It bombards you with filth and trash at breakneck pace. Andretti's attitude remained unchanged throughout the competition. Behind series leader Andretti, Niki Lauda and John Watson's fan cars qualified 2nd and 3rd respectively. Number 8. F310, 1996. The arrival of Michael Schumacher at Ferrari transformed the team. He was responsible for the team's transformation from being underdogs to a 6 consecutive championship-winning team. However, the transformation did not occur overnight. The first car driven by the great German was unusual. The rules changed in 1996 to provide much more protection for the drivers' heads. Most teams discovered a way to minimize the massive sideboards that were now required to adorn the cockpit. Ferrari, however, did not. This meant that the 310's cockpit was extremely unusual. It also had strange side pods that looked like Hoover attachments, and a low nose that was out of sync with every other car on the grid. Later in the season, the F310 was redesigned with the standard high nose. Unfortunately, this exacerbated the situation. The new nose was attached to the front wing by what could only be described as stalks and resembled the prow of a particularly ungainly ship. Number 7. Williams FW26, 2004. The FW26's inclusion may be controversial, as it demonstrates that cars can be both ostensibly ugly by all design rules and quite cool at the same time. Approximately 80% of the FW26 is fine. From the front wheels back, it's just a mid-2000s Formula One car, with a few aerodynamic aids sneaking in, but mostly looking good. At the front, Patrick Head and designer Gavin Fisher appear to have copied nature's most blubbery mass, the walrus, rather than fast-swimming creatures of the deep like the Ferrari shark nose. The FW26 featured a widening nose flanked by a pair of brilliant white tusks that served as front wing mounts. The front wing was also designed with a strange wiggly pattern, which didn't help matters. Later in the season, a more conventional version appeared, which resulted in Juan Pablo Montoya's final Williams F1 victory. But the walrus nose never won. With only 2 podium appearances, its predecessor had produced 12. Number 6. Ferrari 312 T8, 1977. The Ferrari 312 T8 is a weird one in a weird situation. The most unique thing about the 312 T8 is that it never actually existed, nor was it ever meant to, as far as I'm aware. To avoid wasting the other team's time and resources by having them research the same item, only one image of it was shared. This was at a period when many people were working on 6-wheeled automobiles, so I'm not sure if the staged image truly achieved what they were hoping for. However, to me, it seems rather apparent they simply placed some more tires next to a static car on a track. Many years later, it was discovered that this image was just mock-ups that Ferrari had distributed to keep people's attention high. Number 5. ENSIGN N179, 1979. The problem with the ENSIGN N179 is obvious from the moment you look at it. We're not talking about the later, redesigned version, which appears a little more conventional. No, this is the first one, the one with the cheese grater. It appears that technical director John Baldwin and chief designer Shahab Ahmed simply forgot to include a radiator when designing the N179. Desperately, he slapped it on the front of the car. We're sure it worked very well for total cooling. However, it was most likely a great target for stones and could not have been particularly aerodynamic, as if you were trying to push a paving slab through the air. The N179's best finish was 13th, which was also its only finish. Number 4. Ligier JS5, 1976. There is no hope of redemption through relation. The JS5 is unrelentingly hideous. Unlike many others on this list, that opinion remains unchanged with the earlier version or the one later redesigned. To be honest, the original Ligier JS5 looked like a teapot. The high, airbox era of F1 design produced some truly stunning creations, but Ligier's first F1 car was not one of them. The main body was low and a little too wide to be attractive, except when viewed from the front when it appeared too thin. It appeared to be about to fall over and injure driver Jacques Lafitte whenever he was in it. It was later redone. The teapot was returned to the drawing board after a change in regulations. Unfortunately, this only highlighted how ugly the car was in the first place, and the new airbox, which resembled a cartoon sad face, wasn't much better to look at. Number 3. Ferrari 312 T6, 1977. It was strange because it was another six-wheeled vehicle that was never used for racing. The 312 T6 featured 6 wheels that were all the same size as the front wheels, as opposed to the enormous rear wheels that were the norm at the time. I'm not really sure what they were thinking when they designed the back wheels because they were too big to ever be permitted and resembled those of a truck or van. Number 2. Life L190, 1990. This car is a little different from the others on this list since it was a total disaster in every manner. Due to the pre-qualifying system in place at the time, Life was unable to even qualify for a race. However, Life utilized their own W12 engine, which had 3 banks of 4 cylinders. It was heavy and underpowered, and the chassis wasn't very good either. Everyone else in F1 in 1990 was using V8s, V10s, and V12s, and in one case, flat 12s. The car was often 20 to 30 seconds off the pace, simply to get out of pre-qualifying. And the greatest pre-qualifying time was still around 5 seconds off the pole. Number 1. Williams FW08B, 1982. This is another weird 6-wheeled car. The 6-wheeled automobiles were designed differently, and the FW08B boasts an amazing transmission. Similar to the 312 T6, it had 2 rows of powered rear wheels that were all the same size as the front wheels, giving it a 6-wheeled, 4-wheel drive design with ground effect. The vehicle had a significant improvement, but it was prohibited before it could be used in a race. This automobile was responsible for limiting the regulations to 4 wheels and 2 powered wheels. Williams also produced the FW07D, a 6-wheeled test vehicle from which the FW08B's gearbox was derived. Only one gearbox was ever produced. Given the similarities, I'm only completely addressing the FW08B, even through the March 240, which Williams produced before it with a similar design and configuration, was far less successful due to its gearbox and 4-wheel drive. Which of the cars or car launches is the weirdest for you? Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of our incredible videos. Keep an eye out for the next video. Bye.